Hello and welcome back to diving into project management expertise. In our first episode, we explored how project management has evolved over time and the key skills modern project managers need to thrive. We saw that project management isn't just about tracking tasks and meeting deadlines. It's about strategic thinking, risk management, stakeholder engagement, and adapting to change. We also discussed how the role of the project manager has shifted from simply overseeing timelines and budgets to leading teams, managing uncertainty, and leveraging technology to drive success. Now, in Project Management for Dummies series, we already covered the 5 key project phases: initiation, defining the project's goals and scope, planning, creating timelines and budgets, and deliverables, execution, getting the actual work done, monitoring and controlling, tracking progress and making adjustments, closure, wrapping up, delivering results and reviewing lessons learned. But knowing the phases isn't enough. What really matters is how you structure the work inside them. That's exactly what we are covering today. In this episode, we'll go beyond project phases and dive into the practical tools that bring structure and clarity to any project. By the end of this video, you'll learn how to use the work breakdown structure to organize tasks efficiently, the difference between milestones and deliverables, and how they guide the execution, how key project documents, charters, scope statements, risk registers prevent chaos, and how to map out dependencies and timelines to keep projects running smoothly. Understanding the critical path method and how it helps prevent project delays. This episode lays the groundwork for time management, budgeting, and frameworks. So let's get started. Let's talk about some of the essential tools that help you structure a project. A work breakdown structure, or WBS. A work breakdown structure is like an architecture plan of the project. It provides a clear and hierarchical breakdown of all work that needs to be completed. Instead of tackling a massive project all at once, WBS helps you break it into structured, smaller tasks that can be executed efficiently. Why is WBS essential? It ensures nothing is overlooked. Every required task is mapped out, improves time and cost estimation, and helps to define the workload and resources needed. It also clarifies roles and responsibilities. Everyone knows what they are accountable for. How to create an effective WBS? Start by identifying the major phases of the project. These are the high-level stages that define the overall structure. Break each phase down into smaller actionable tasks that are necessary to complete that phase. Assign owners and deadlines to each task to ensure accountability. Every task should have a designated person responsible for its completion. Continuously review and refine the WBS to adapt to project changes. As the project evolves, adjustments may be needed to keep the structure relevant. A well-structured WBS allows teams to see the big picture while managing details efficiently. Without it, projects risk becoming chaotic and unmanageable. For example, in a website development project, the WBS might include major phases such as UX and UI design, backend development, and testing and deployment. Within each phase, there are smaller tasks like create wireframes, develop database, and conduct bug testing. Structuring tasks in this way ensures that everything is planned and accounted for. Milestones and deliverables. One of the biggest challenges in project management is keeping projects on track. This is where milestones and deliverables play a crucial role. What's the difference between milestones and deliverables? Milestones are key checkpoints that mark progress throughout the project. They do not produce a tangible output but signal that a phase or a task group is complete. Deliverables are tangible results that indicate work completion. These are specific outputs that must be produced as a part of the project. For example, in a software development project, a milestone could be prototype completed, marking the transition from design to development. A deliverable, on the other hand, could be the final app version delivered, signifying that the software is fully developed and ready for deployment. But how to use milestones and deliverables effectively? Define clear milestone dates and track progress against them. These checkpoints keep the team focused on hitting critical deadlines. Ensure that each milestone has an assigned owner responsible for ensuring it reached on time. Without ownership, milestones can be overlooked. Communicate milestones and deliverables to all stakeholders. This ensures alignment and keeps everyone informed about project progress. When used correctly, milestones and deliverables provide teams with a clear sense of direction and measurable success. In a construction project, a milestone might be foundation completed, while a deliverable would be building structure installed. The milestone signals that an important stage has been reached, while the deliverable is a tangible output of the work completed. Timeline and dependencies. One of the biggest challenges in structuring a project is timing everything correctly, while understanding which tasks depend on others. A well-structured timeline keeps the project organized, predictable, and efficient. What are the dependencies? Dependencies define how tasks relate to each other. Some tasks can start until others finish, while some can run in parallel. There are 4 main types of dependencies. Finish to start, as a task must be completed before the next one begins. For example, in construction, the foundation must be completed before the walls can be built. Start to start, 2 tasks begin at the same time but progress independently. For example, in a product launch, marketing and product testing can start simultaneously. Finish to finish, 1 task must be completed before another can be finished. For example, quality assurance testing must finish before final approval can be given. Start to finish, a task must start before a dependent task can be completed. For example, a new security team must be on site before the current team can leave. How those dependencies impact timelines? Unmanaged dependencies cause delays. If one task slips, the entire project can be affected. Parallel scheduling speeds up projects. If dependencies allow, running tasks at the same time can shorten the timeline. Risk management relies on clear dependencies. Knowing which tasks affect others help identify bottlenecks early. For example, in a software development project, dependency testing task B can start until coding task A is at least 80% complete. Timeline impact: if coding is delayed, testing gets delayed, which pushes back the launch. Solution: schedule buffer time between coding and testing to reduce risk. But how do we identify which tasks are truly critical to the project's success? How can we ensure that delays in non-essential tasks don't disrupt the overall schedule? This is where the critical path method, or CPM, comes in. It is a technique used to determine the longest sequence of dependent tasks in a project. This sequence is called the critical path. because any delay in these tasks will directly delay the project's completion. Why is the critical path important? It identifies tasks that must stay on schedule, avoids delays in key project phases, helps allocate resources efficiently, prioritizes efforts on high-impact tasks, improves project tracking, and provides a clear roadmap for execution. For example, in an event planning project, Task A is secure venue, 5 days. Task B, arrange catering, 3 days, dependent on Task A. Task C, design invitations, 4 days. Task D, send invitations, 2 days, dependent on Task C. Critical path, Task A to Task B and to Task D. Total duration, 10 days. If Task A is delayed by 2 days, the entire event is delayed unless time is recovered elsewhere. How to use CPM in project structuring? Identify all project tasks and their dependencies. Determine the longest chain of dependent tasks, the critical path. Monitor critical path tasks closely to avoid delays. Use project scheduling tools like Microsoft Project to automate CPM calculations. Incorporate a project buffer at the end of the critical path to absorb delays without affecting the final deadline of your project. How to calculate project buffer? For low uncertainty projects, it's 10-15% of the critical path duration. Medium complexity projects, 15 and 25% of the critical path duration. And for high-risk projects, between 25 and 50% of the critical path duration. In construction projects, foundation work must be completed before any structural elements can be built. Identifying the critical path ensures that any potential delays in excavation or foundation pouring are flagged early so the project can stay on track. Project documentation. Project documentation isn't just paperwork. It's what keeps the entire team aligned, prevents miscommunication, and protects against scope creep, uncontrolled expansion of the project scope. Essential project documents. Project charter defines the project's purpose, high-level goals, and key stakeholders. This document serves as the foundation of the project. Scope statement outlines what is included in the project and what is not. It helps set clear expectations to avoid unnecessary changes. Change control process manages new requests to prevent uncontrolled scope creep. This ensures that modifications go through an approval process. Why documentation matters? It prevents confusion, clear roles, objectives, and constraints, controls scope creep, ensures new requests don't disrupt the projects without approval. Keeps everyone accountable. Written agreements ensure clarity. For example, a startup is developing a fitness tracking app. Halfway through, the marketing team requests social media integration. But this wasn't in the original scope. Without documentation, the team rushes to implement the request, causing budget overruns and delays. With documentation, the scope statement clearly outlines what's included, so the change request is reviewed for feasibility before approval. Best practices for project documentation. Make documentation accessible. Store in cloud-based tools like Notion, Confluence, or Google Drive. Get stakeholder approval early. Avoid last-minute disagreements. Ensure teams actively use documents. Reference them in meetings and project updates. Understanding WBS, milestones, and documentation is great, but the real challenge is making them work in a fast-paced, unpredictable projects. Even experienced project managers struggle with structuring their projects correctly, often because teams don't follow the WBS consistently, Milestones become meaningless due to poor tracking, project documentation gets ignored or forgotten. So let's focus on 3 key lessons learned from real-world projects that will help you apply these tools effectively and avoid common traps. Lesson number 1. Your WBS is useless if teams don't use it daily. Many project managers create a perfect work breakdown structure during planning, but once execution starts, teams ignore it and work reactively. Why does this actually happen? Teams prefer to focus on immediate tasks, not long-term project structures. WBS feels like extra paperwork instead of a living tool. Example, IT rollout project. An IT team was upgrading network infrastructure across 15 offices. A detailed WBS was created, listing all installation tasks. But engineers kept skipping non-urgent tasks, causing major delays when overlooked items became critical later. Lessons learned. WBS should be reviewed in every team meeting. Make it iterative. Turn it into a Kanban board or dashboard so teams actively use it. Lesson number 2. A milestone without clear accountability is just your wish. Milestones only work if someone is accountable for making them happen. Why does this happen? Project managers assume that everyone will track milestones, but no one actually owns them. Teams see milestones as soft targets instead of fixed deadlines. For example, in a product launch project, a startup had a milestone for final app testing completed, but no single team was responsible. The deadline passed, and testing wasn't actually finished, delaying the entire launch. Lesson learned: assign one milestone owner per milestone. They ensure it happens on time. Treat milestones like client deadlines, not flexible targets. And lesson number 3, documentation means nothing if no one reads it. Most projects have great documents, but no one actually references them during execution. Why does this actually happen? Documentation is seen as a one-time deliverable instead of a living guide. Stakeholders keep making unapproved changes because they forget what was originally agreed upon. For example, a marketing campaign scope creep. A company planned a €1 million ad campaign for social media. Midway executives asked for a full TV ad without realizing that TV was never in the original scope. Lesson learned: keep project documents visible. Post them in dashboards or collaboration tools. Create a scope reminder email for stakeholders before major phases start. It's not about creating a WBS, setting milestones, or having documentation. It's about making them work in our real world. Turn WBS into an active tool. Don't let teams forget it. Assign clear milestone owners. Accountability drives execution. Keep project documentation in front of stakeholders, or they will ignore it. When used correctly, these tools don't just make projects organized, they prevent failures. So, we have seen how project structuring is the foundation of successful project management. A work breakdown structure, or WBS, ensures that all project tasks are clearly defined, organized, and assigned, reducing the risk of oversight. Milestones and deliverables act as checkpoints, helping teams track progress and adjust when necessary. Mapping out timelines and dependencies ensures that tasks are completed in the right order, avoiding bottlenecks and project delays. Project documentation creates clarity, preventing miscommunication, confusion, and scope creep. But here is the reality. Even with project structuring, projects can still fail if execution isn't managed correctly. Deadlines get missed because no one knows the true workload. Scope creep takes over because documentation wasn't clearly enough. Teams work inefficiently because tasks were not broken down properly. That's why mastering project structure is critical. It's what separates a chaotic, unpredictable project from the one that runs smoothly. What's the biggest challenge you face when structuring a project? Breaking down tasks, tracking milestones, managing stakeholder expectations. Drop a comment below. I'll be reading and responding. Plus, commenting helps more people discover this video. But structuring alone is not enough, because once the project starts, you need a framework that tells you how to execute it efficiently. In episode 3, we'll explore the key frameworks: Waterfall, Agile, Scrum, Kanban, and Hybrid. How different industries use these frameworks for success. Real-world examples of how teams apply each framework. Choosing the right framework can make or break the project. So if you ever wondered which approach works best for you, subscribe and hit that notification bell to make sure you don't miss the next episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye!